Cheers echoed across the front yard of the Carter family home as a brand new sports car slowly rolled into the driveway. Tyler stepped forward to accept the keys while relatives applauded around him. He smiled with unmistakable pride. A few steps away stood Madison, feeling less like a daughter and more like a stranger who had accidentally wandered into someone else's celebration. The car itself was not what hurt her. What hurt was what happened next. Her father pointed toward the corner of the yard. Parked there was an old sedan, its paint faded by years of sun and weather. He announced that it would be Madison's gift. A few relatives immediately fell silent. Others forced polite smiles, pretending everything was perfectly normal. Madison smiled too. It was a familiar smile, one she had learned many years ago. The smile of someone who already knew that reacting would change nothing. In this family, Tyler had always been the source of pride. Every dollar spent on him was called an investment. Every opportunity given to him was considered well-deserved. Madison, on the other hand, was always expected to be understanding, to make sacrifices, to be grateful for whatever was left behind. What nobody knew was that months earlier, while everyone had been busy planning Tyler's future, Madison had quietly completed a prestigious financial certification with outstanding results. Nobody knew she had recently passed the first selection round for one of Charlotte's leading investment firms. She had never told her family. She was far too familiar with having her achievements overlooked. The celebration continued. Laughter and conversation filled the air. But deep inside Madison, something was beginning to change. For the first time, she no longer felt sad. She only felt tired. And as night slowly settled over the house, she had no idea that in just a few days, an unexpected encounter would change the course of her life forever. 3 days after that party, Madison woke up before sunrise. It was the most important day she had faced in years. The day of her interview at Hayes Capital, the opportunity she had been quietly working toward for months. But the moment she started the old sedan parked outside, her heart sank. The engine made a strange sound. Then it died. She tried again. And again. The car eventually refused to start at all. Madison stood silently in the cold morning air. She knew she could not call her parents. Even if she did, she already knew what their answer would be. After borrowing money from a friend, she caught the last ride into downtown Charlotte. As she stepped into the towering glass headquarters of Hayes Capital, she felt as though she had entered an entirely different world. The other candidates wore expensive tailored suits. They spoke with confidence. They smiled with ease. Meanwhile, Madison sat quietly in the corner of the waiting area. The old blazer she had bought from a thrift store was beginning to fray around the cuffs. She pulled the sleeves down, hoping to hide the wear. But it was not enough. At that moment, the elevator doors opened. Victoria Hayes stepped out. The powerful woman behind one of the fastest-growing investment firms in the country. Almost everyone in the room instinctively straightened their posture. Victoria walked past each candidate. Then, unexpectedly, she stopped in front of Madison. Her eyes did not go to the resume. They did not go to the name tag. Instead, they settled on the worn cuff of her sleeve. A brief silence followed. Then Victoria asked softly, "You must have worked very hard just to be here today, haven't you?" Madison was caught off guard. It was the first question she had heard in years that was not about what she lacked. It was about what she had overcome. For the first time, she felt that someone truly saw her. And that single moment changed the entire interview. Because Victoria did not see a young woman wearing an old jacket. She saw someone who had never been given a fair chance to shine. 4 months after that interview, Madison's life had changed completely. She no longer worried about paying rent. She no longer had to calculate every small expense at the end of each month. And she no longer had to drive the old sedan that seemed determined to break down at the worst possible moments. The day she bought her first car with money she had earned herself, Madison sat behind the wheel for a long time. Not because the car was particularly luxurious, but because it was the first thing in her life that truly belonged to her. News of her new position quickly spread throughout the family. Relatives who had remained silent at her graduation party suddenly began calling to check on her. Her father frequently mentioned his daughter's accomplishments whenever he met with friends. Her mother proudly told neighbors that Madison had always been the hardest working child in the family. But the person who surprised Madison the most was Tyler. After a series of careless decisions, he began facing serious financial difficulties. One late autumn afternoon, their parents showed up at her apartment. For the first time in years, they were not there to offer advice. They were there to ask for help. The room fell silent. Madison looked at the people sitting across from her. The same people who had spent years making her believe she was never good enough. Yet she felt no anger, no desire for revenge. Calmly, she told them that she was willing to help within reason. But she would no longer carry responsibilities that belonged to someone else. It was the first time in her life that she had set a boundary for herself. A few days later, a small package arrived at her office. Inside was a simple, framed photograph. It was a picture taken on the day she joined Hayes Capital. Beneath it was a handwritten note from Victoria. Your worth did not begin the day others recognized it. It had existed long before that. Madison smiled. And for the first time in her life, she truly believed it.